All right, seed talk, stuff that makes your seeds walk. We got a little collaboration right here. This was supposed to be, a relation talk with Ed Newbins, my guy, but Alvena was like, I want to join in, and with the whole the strength of the woman empowerment, and we got to be all inclusive nowadays. I felt like if we did not allow her to be a part of this, that we might be up against some smear, campaigns. She might try to, you know, they're trying to exclude me and stuff, like they want to have
Canceled.
a black woman at the table, I'm like, damn, so we gotta have. No, I'm just joking. But I wanted to start this series with my guy Edward, but and just talk about relationships, from um, a very unpopular men's perspective. I'll say that much. Men who actually are emotionally intelligent, who just don't fall into the stereotype of men. Men are simple. We just we don't really think too much. We're just animals, and we just go off of instincts, and women are different and men are so easy. No, we're not. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? um I just hear things from men in pop culture that make me just scratch my head, and there's just no wonder why, what I'm saying, there's so many complications in relationships on our end, because we undervalue ourselves. So I thought it'd be cool for Edward and I to have this conversation, for Alvena to be a fly on the wall and kind of like tune in and be like, oh, is that how I see it? Is that true? Or dang, that's the reason why y'all do what y'all do.
I'm in
All
the
right.
comment section, pretty much.
You said what?
I'm in the comment section.
Yeah, you know, um, so we just don't, get canceled and whatnot. We're gonna be like, hey, so what do you think about what we just talked about? No, I'm just joking. No, we really do value your perspective and whatnot. I think this would be a really cool thing for C Talk. But let's just get into it.
All
And I
right.
think that on this episode, I really want to start from the simple premise of men, specifically black men with
Mhm.
brown skin. We just don't value ourselves enough in relationships.
Very
And
true.
um, when I say that, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear men, specifically black men, don't value themselves in relationship? What's the first thing you think about?
For me, for
Yeah, for you,
all right.
Ed.
Yeah. Man, I actually have more imagery when I think about it. It's like I don't really have the words. I actually have the image of situations I've been in, or situations seen other guys in, to where it's just like, where did that start? Was that a childhood thing? Like, why are we allowing ourselves to be in? I've been in those situations myself where I look back and I'm like, all right, so there's something wrong with me that I don't understand, that I keep putting myself in these relationships that they're not benefiting me, or I'm putting so much energy into something that's really not for me, and I'm not walking away from it. I'm like staying in it like quicksand. I already know I'm sinking, like this is not for me, but I'm still in it. Why? Why am I fighting to be in something like I don't have no other options in the world? And when I started thinking about it, for me, I didn't I didn't know how to love myself because of certain situations. So, like, I didn't grow up with a dad. That was probably the first thing. And then I kind of grew up in a situation. I've talked to my mom about this. It's nothing I wouldn't say to her. Um, I grew up in a group of women that not necessarily had the idea of how to love a man either. So when I came along, it wasn't like they showed me love just so easily, because like my mom didn't know her dad. My grandmother, my mom doesn't know her dad. I don't know my grandfather on that side. And I started talking about it to her, my mom. There's a whole lineage of folks that didn't really have men in the family. So I'm like one of the only men in the family on my mom's side that's ever been around consistently. So how do they love black men? I didn't really get that lovey-dovey type of stuff from my mom. So when I was in relationships, I think I was seeking that out. So I'd be with women that maybe weren't the best fit for me, but because I needed to have that validation, that I would stay in it, regardless of how I was being treated or how I felt. And I didn't break out of that cycle until I was like 30, about 30, 32, 33 is when I started like breaking that mental cycle of that issue. Not to say anything bad about the people I dated before, because it could kind of sound like I'm dogging them out or something like that. But it really comes down to I wasn't valuing myself enough, and so I was putting myself in situations that weren't benefiting me in the long run, and I kind of knew it when I was in it, which was even worse. Like I know I'm in quicksand, but I'm
What's some
not getting out.
examples? What's some examples of stuff that you was doing that you look back at and be like, man, I was not valuing myself.
Oh yeah, I mean, okay, so I won't say no names, but the situation that I found myself in at a young age, um, yeah, I've told Alvena this too. It's like I remember when I was about 22, um, maybe 23. I was at University of Washington. I was dating this young lady, real pretty lady, um, in certain areas, but she had her own issues, and I knew those, so I tried to help her out. Now I was driving from University of Washington in Seattle, North Seattle area, all the way to Federal Way 3 times a week
Mm-hmm.
after school, fighting traffic, just to go help her because she had some body image issue type of situation. Um, to go help her walk around the track and something like that. That was probably less than a mile from her house. And I found myself in a situation where I'm trying to comfort her to get herself, try to get her motor running. Like, hey, you can do this, you can do this. But I started feeling like I was being like abused in a way. Like I'm doing all this work to help somebody that's not putting the same value into themselves, and I feel like it's my job to really help her do this. Like it's like the good guy thing. I'm being a good guy. Let me do this. And I started feeling drained though, and then it became more of like a mental issue too. Like I'm trying to help her so much. Why am I not just doing it? I need to help myself. I got school. I got other stuff going on, and here I am spending all my time to try to accommodate her when she's not even caring about that situation like that. I'd go work out with her. We'd go to Dairy Queen and she'd be eating at least more calories than she just put in. And it's not to say anything bad about her, but I started looking at that myself like, what the hell am I doing? Like, this is crazy. And I was an athlete. I grew up as a basketball player, swimmer, and I'm sitting here like, you got to want it yourself. And I started realizing, I talked to some other women about this later, you can't love people more than they love themselves. I've been in those situations with jobs where you're trying to do so much for your client and you realize your client don't care like you do. So why am I doing so much then? And it also shows that maybe I'm not focused on myself enough either. Because why do I feel the need to help somebody else so much on that level? Am I taking care of myself? Maybe I'm just actually foregoing taking care of myself and using her as an excuse too. Like, oh yeah, I'm helping her so much when really I should be working on myself. And I'm just, you know, it's just a bad cycle. And I think a lot of guys I know do that maybe because they really don't want to work on themselves, and it's easy to act like you're helping somebody else out so much.
Yeah. So you
So
felt like it wasn't there was no exchange in that. You felt like you wasn't getting anything out of that though?
I mean, I was, but it was one of those situations where, as a young dude, it was like you can't keep doing those type of things because it's not a. It's like it's almost like it's very dysfunctional. Put it that way. It's like you're not, if you're not right for somebody and they're not right for you, but you're staying in it for whatever reason. Like, some people stay in it for sex, they stay in it for whatever situation they're getting out of it, but it's really not the best place for you.
Comfort. They stay at security and comfort a lot of
Yeah,
times for
yeah. It's
normal.
like yeah. So I look at it like as a young man, there's certain things I knew. It's almost like you want this, but you're not putting the work in to get that. So you're kind of not saying you're selling for that person, but you're not your best self. So instead of me being at my optimum, whatever level that might be, out of a 0 to 10, I'm operating at a 5 or 6. Well,
Because you were putting her first.
not because I was doing that. No, not because of her. I was just operating that anyway. And
Oh, I
so
thought you
me,
were listening to a little bit too much Jaheim back in the day and putting the woman first.
I like Jaheim though. I did grow up on Jaheim.
What was the breaking point? And then I want to tap into the fly girl on the wall.
Oh yeah.
See what I did there. But what was the breaking point for you where like you were like, nah, this ain't working?
Yeah, man, it's cold how I did it. I feel bad about it, man.
Why was it cold when you advocated for yourself? Why?
It was just it was just how I did it, and I felt bad about it later. But it was just like I couldn't take no more, basically. So I did what I had to do. But it was like I started coming into my own. Okay, what happened is that I ended up I got a job going to New York. I got wined and dined by a Silicon Valley company, took
Mhm,
myself to New York, and I was there for almost a year. Um,
mhm,
but before that year, though, certain things that were happening. I was getting introduced to different folks. I was part of Inroads. I was the vice president of Inroads. They were sending me to Oakland, California. I was hanging out with the Hispanics and the black folks. And I started seeing how I was treated over there versus how I got treated in Seattle, and kind of how me and you talked about some stuff, how you get treated in Seattle as a black man versus other places.
right.
And it was night and day. I was like, wait a second. I could be the most dressed up dude in Seattle, but I was getting like very lukewarm anything. It's hard to even get a smile from people. To say I even look nice was hard. I go some other places, like I'm not even looking for it, and people are like literally bending over backwards to say hello, invite me places, have those conversations, just be like a normal conversation. So I came back to Seattle with like, yo, I don't need. I'm kind of living at a lower vibration, lower frequency. I'm allowing myself to be dumbed down in an environment where people are not respecting who I am and what I bring to the table, and I'm finding myself in relationships where I'm actually trying to do so much to appease somebody else when I don't need to do all that. My value is higher than that. So once I realized my value is higher than that, I started looking at everybody around me like, all right, well, I'm an athlete at this time. I'm taking care of myself. Why am I with somebody that doesn't want to take care of themselves? Not because you have to be a perfect size or anything like that, but your desire is not even there. I was dating ladies and I was really into my studies. Also, you don't even care about studies. You don't even, it's not even top of your mind. Why am I with somebody like
Why
that?
was it? What made it so mean when you came back, seeing that you were valued differently in this different community, in this different culture? You come back, and what made the breakup so bad? Like, what
I
happened?
mean,
What did you say? What did you do?
so we was in the
Like,
parking lot. We was in a parking lot and oh man, we was at like a Burger King parking lot. And I was just like, there's something that she said,
of course,
and
it
I
was
got it was Burger King. Yeah, of course, yeah. You was cold with that one.
was it all
It's something
foods?
that she said. It was something that she said. It was already getting on my nerves about desire and want. Like, if you want something so bad, like you have to be willing to put more work into it. And I started realizing she wasn't trying to put the work in, and she was okay with me just being like a doormat to help her all the time. And I was being introduced to some other ladies that were on top of their shit, basically. Like they were athletes, they was modeling, they was into their school. I'm like, yo, these are people I should be hanging out with. I'm in the wrong
It's
corner.
competitive out there, man.
Yeah. And I started looking back like she's not even trying. Like I've been dealing with this for so long, it's ridiculous. And these people, this is who they are. This is normal. They're not trying to impress me. This is who they are. But I'm in that circle and I'm starting to realize like I'm not equally yoked with the people that I'm hanging out with. I need to be in a different group. And so there's certain things that she kept on complaining about, like she wanted to be a model herself, like a plus model, which is nothing wrong with that. But she wouldn't put the work in to even go that direction. And I got tired of trying to coax her over and over again. And she wasn't a bad person; she's a really sweet person. But it just got really like draining. Basically, got so draining to the point where like I'm done. Like something she said, and at that point, I was just like, I'm done, man. I was like, hey, you know what? That's just how to explain it. Like I'm done. Da 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 da. Because it was burning up inside of me anyway. And it just got to the point, the bubbling point, where I was just like, it didn't matter the location. It wasn't going to be a great location. It's just I'm done. Like I can't do this no more.
See, I was married for 12 years, and thank you for sharing that story. That's like an ideal example.
Hmm.
And I would even say that you thinking what you said in that Burger King parking lot to her after just being fed up, I felt like that was a demonstration that you didn't value yourself. Because if we had that same situation and you flip genders and you
Yeah.
flip roles, if a black woman specifically told a black man, look, man, I'm tired of like putting money into your mixtape series and you're not even working hard. You know what I mean? You're playing video games all the time. You
Yeah.
know, you're not trying to get your streams up. You're not, your social media brand is just trash. And I've been out there. I went to New York. I went to LA. I went down south and I see brothers working way harder than you. They got their own businesses. They got residual income coming in, peripheral income coming in, and they're doing better than you. I can't do this with you no more. No
Right.
one would say that black woman is being mean.
Right. That's true.
She's fed up. So to the point where like we don't even value ourselves to be like, we can't even empower and advocate for ourselves to the point where we're not feeling bad. Like, oh man, that was really mean what I did to her. That wasn't no.
Yeah.
Time's up. And I feel like men don't value themselves by saying they're mean by simply expressing themselves or changing their minds about something or asking for something better. And I feel like that's a low-key way that we don't really value ourselves. Like we don't deserve to have better, so we feel bad.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
And that's I feel like that is a demonstration of not valuing, most importantly, your time and your energy.
Yep.
And I learned that in my marriage. Like, I'd be dang if I ever go back to not valuing myself. You feel me? And I started to really understand specifically with black women, because that's who I date. You know what I'm saying? That, and it's no knock to women, because this is how human beings are. Human beings are conditioned and trained to go to the path of least resistance. You feel me?
Right.
And they're going to take what you give them. It's all about incentives and rewards. That's how you train an animal. That's how you train a worker. That's how you train a human being. And what I've noticed from black women, hear me out the right way, because I say black women because that's who I date and intentionally put myself, you know what I'm saying, in interaction with. They benefit from black men with low self-esteem.
Oh yeah.
Period.
I seen it. It's funny you said that. I've actually said it. I've said it many times. I've seen it up close and personal. I actually told one of my friends that straight to his face. We hung out, and I told him straight, I'm tired of seeing this, man. I am tired of seeing you. I told him, I told him the story. I told him, man, I'm freaking tired of seeing you, man.
Tell me the story too, I think.
Yeah, I said, I'm just tired of seeing you like this, man. You keep on settling for all this crazy stuff, and it's like, but I've seen you with people, with women that value you, and you reject it. Like, I've seen you reject the good ones. Like, they're dope. Like, that's not, everything doesn't match up 100%, but I've seen people value this person and him go the opposite direction, looking for a fight. Like, you're looking for the fights. Like, you're looking.
Uh-oh. Pixar film, Frozen.
Me and the same person have been other places to where we've been to other places where we've been other places where I'll tell you an example. I went to the Black NBA conference I went to two of them, in 2004 or 6 and one in 2008. The last one I went to was first one I went to was Orlando, and that was crazy. It was dope. First time I've ever been in an all black, because I didn't go to black college. So this is the first time I've been into this super high level professional, all black everybody. And we're just kicking it. And I'm seeing the dopest females I've seen in the country ever. And they are the smartest of the smart sitting there. But we're kicking it afterwards. And it's like, yo, in Seattle, this type of lady, whoever, she's up here. She's at the top of the food chain easily. But this whole room is full of them. I'm interacting with everybody like it ain't nothing. Like how I interact with you guys, it's like how I'm interacting with them. But in Seattle, it would be so hard to, because of the way we're being treated. We don't treat each other with respect here. I go back down south or back east coast. What's up, brother? How you doing? Oh, you look so good. Hey, I like what you're doing. Hey, we got this thing going on over here. Me and my homegirls are doing this and this. And I'm sitting there like, where am I at? Like, I'm in Mars somewhere, because this does not happen in my environment.
You hear the same stories from black women in the Pacific Northwest, specifically Seattle. I can't tell you, and I bear witness to it too, and I understand what they're talking about. I can't tell you how many black women have told me how hard it is to date as a black woman in Seattle, in the Pacific Northwest. It's incredibly difficult because of what you just now said on their end. It's just like there's not a good pool of black men that are diverse, unique enough to, fit their needs. You know what I mean? And, of course, we get the criticism that all these black men, all they want to do is date white women and Asian women. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? or just sitting on the sidelines, like, pick me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why I hear it from a lot of Black women say, man, maybe I need to start dating these white guys. I hear that a lot, you know what I'm saying?
I hear that all
But
the time, yeah.
Fly Girl on the Wall, what you think about just this first installment of Black men talking about how we don't value ourselves enough? From your perspective, Black woman, what you think?
Well, I mean, the initial thought that came up was just from conversations I've already had with Edward about how quickly women are to say, N-words ain't ish, or so like that has to show up in behavior of the women who think that way as well. And then you're raising these sons and they grow up feeling and thinking maybe that they ain't. So I mean that's the first thing that came to mind. But I don't know. What
Do you,
specific question do you have for me?
do you think that the way that Edward described how he went about it, when he was like, enough was enough, you know what I'm saying, I'm done with it, you think that was mean? Do you think that was mean?
No, I don't. I don't even think Edward thinks it was mean. I think it's just being nice.
Back then I did. I felt bad about
You
it.
thought
I
it
felt a
was?
little like,
Okay,
damn,
well now,
yeah,
right now you
I felt
probably,
guilty about it.
yeah. But like I don't think it's mean, but I think that being nice is overrated. Being nice is good in many situations, but also it can be overrated. And you was just fed up. Maybe there could have been a better or different way to do it if you did it sooner, but you were already not valuing yourself. So at that point you was like past all your boundaries, and that's why it came out the way that it came out, when it could have come out a little bit differently if you did it earlier and sooner, when you knew that this wasn't for you.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think being nice is overrated. To be kind is better. Because nice is not even an action. It's just it's a pleasantry. It's it's just might be like opening the door or saying something nice like good morning or something, but kindness is the actual act of how to serve other people. And people get it all mixed up and think that being nice and kind are the same thing. They're not.
That's true.
Yeah. I actually think your gesture in the Burger King parking lot, and I'm gonna keep making that reference for obvious reasons. I actually think that when you look at it, if she were to really reflect on it, I think that was a kind moment. I think you were being very kind, because at that point you were wasting both of y'all time. Being in a relationship that you weren't really into, you had already known that there's something better out there for you, and you were kind of like, if you were to continue, it would be very unkind of you, because you'd be kind of like just leading her astray. And you're taking up her time where she could have found someone who's a better fit for her.
Right.
And it seemed like the better fit for her was actually a relationship with herself and not someone outside of her.
Yeah. It could have been a wake-up call for her.
Yeah. And that's what do you think about the comment I made? I said women benefit from men with low self-esteem. What do you think about that comment?
You talking to Alvena?
Alvena, yeah. This is the
this is the first time I got to be a fly on the wall for this conversation. So that's a new one for me to try to understand. But I mean, I guess looking at all my brothers and cousins and things like that, are people who have been in relationships that were not beneficial to them, where they've been used for getting these bills paid, take care of these kids and whatever, where they're just more dedicated to the relationship than she is. I guess that makes sense. It's a benefit if they're getting something out of it. I mean, I could only be an outsider looking in on this one. I don't know. I don't know that I've benefited. I would have to think. But yeah.
What becomes interesting though, Alvena, is when you're raising a son, in comparison to the men that you date. You know what I'm saying? And I came to that when I was co-raising our daughter.
Okay.
Like, I want to raise a woman that is going to value herself, but also that's going to make her highly competitive out there, that's going to get the, the best out of the relationship. And I'm gonna be honest, I wanted to co-raise a woman that I would want to date. That would, and I think that's normal for any parent. Like, you want to raise someone you like to be around, that compliments you. You know what I'm saying? That's why I raised my daughter, like, in certain ways of like, look, man, this is your body. You do what you want with your body as long as you're safe. Those same with your emotions. You know what I'm saying? Same with the choices you make. As long as they're safe. So we don't get into all this body shaming, sex shaming. I raised my daughter to be comfortable in her sexuality, whatever, what I'm saying, she chose and what, she likes and prefers, because that's the kind of woman I would want to date. I wouldn't want to date a woman who's bringing so much trauma into a relationship, she can't even be herself, meaning that she's less likely to treat me with any value because she's having a hard time of valuing herself. And it kind of reminds me of this other topic I put up there. It's like, a man with values is everything a person wants and doesn't want in a relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I say that, what do you think? What's the first thing that comes to your mind, Edward, when I say a man with values is everything a person wants and doesn't want in a relationship?
Man, as soon as you say that, I think of the Matrix. All of a sudden, it's like, when I woke up, it was when I woke up from the situation of not just that situation. I went through a series of things like that. So dating her and other ladies too, it was like me doing the same thing, not valuing myself constantly. The minute I woke up, though, it became a totally different scenario. It became like, and I didn't wake up right away. It took a long time, actually. So, but when I did wake up, and to this day now, I see everything. Everything's so clear, like the energy that comes to me. I deflect energy so easily, and I don't even have a qualm about it, like, whatever, because I know it doesn't add value to my situation, and I know what I bring to the table. So I bring nothing but, like, I'm a kind person by nature, but I'm also the kid that grew up. I tell Alvena's story all the time. I was the happy-go-lucky kid in Spokane. I was like a little Mayberry kid, but I came to the Seattle area. Yeah, I moved to the crack area, 22nd and Yesler, and anybody that knows Seattle, that was one of the worst of the worst of the worst areas. And
Absolutely.
I lived it. I do all the drug dealers. I seen all the abuse. I got arrested at 11 years old. I became hypersensitive to, like, life real quick, and I started understanding energy. It was a bad time because mentally I had to go through a lot. But after coming through that and finding myself through all that stuff and getting into my 30s and actually finding what I really want, it became a wrap. Like, okay, well, I'm not dealing with low self-esteem people, not because they're bad people. It's just not where I'm at. You got to have high energy. You got to be valuing yourself, because I'm not there to pick you up. I'm not able to put enough energy into you and still live my life the way I want to. And so I don't seek that out anymore. So
Yeah.
so for that question, it's like, women women that go. I know a lot of dudes, and personally, I know a lot of dudes that are with women that treat them like crap. I've seen it in public. Like, yo, if you treat somebody like that in public or around other people, I can imagine what's going on in the house. If I saw a woman,
give me an example.
Yeah, this is probably telling on certain people, but I used to be in a group of guys and a group of people. I remember one time it was so ridiculous. Like, we were at a house party, and this dude was getting berated. He's a nice dude. He's a good dude, but he's also. I used to think in my mind. I used to say, I think I might have mentioned to him, he don't value himself.
Dang, all the way lost him.
Yeah, and it be like that sometimes, you know.
Let's be back. I mean, I could talk to you about my son, like raising my son.
Yeah.
Like, he's 13. He notices girls, but he's not all the way into them yet. Still, the games are still more important, but he definitely notices girls, and he'll be like, have a girlfriend or whatever. And definitely when you said that, yeah, then I can kind of tap into, like, oh yeah, like, then Mama Bear kind of comes out, and I'm like, well, I don't want to shut him down on that. I want to ask him questions like, how do you consciously
I'm back.
get to know someone? How do you decide like this is somebody that you really want to spend time with, or uh, you know, put any kind of effort into at all, or get to know? And so like I just ask questions like, what do you like about her? Like, what are the things that make her interesting? You
Right.
know? So
Yeah. Because
check
men
character.
are one of the first trials that men are taught to devalue themselves is we're conditioned and taught that the aesthetic beauty of a woman is high priority.
Right.
And so it's very important when we are raising and co-raising our children. That's a very important question that Alvena asked her sons, like, why do you like them? And I ask my daughter that all the time. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the time, you know what I'm saying, men and women, but specifically we're talking about men, we're taught, you know, to be a sucker for good looks.
Right.
I mean, if the body's banging, you know what I'm saying, the face is banging, you know what I'm saying, and she just looks like she can play the part to be in a relationship.
Right.
You're off to a good start.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? And that could lead you down a pathway of social conditioning and expectations that can really, really create this this system where you just constantly devaluing yourself for a pretty face.
I was
But you
there.
were talking about this house party though, and your partner.
Yeah.
And so go ahead,
Yeah.
spill on that, Kermit.
So it's one of the craziest things I've ever seen, and I was pissed about it. But it was like it was crazy, man. I was like, and it was so crazy that I was looking at everybody in the room like none of you guys. I remember saying this to myself, like you guys ain't shit. I remember saying that to myself. Like I'm in a room full of friends of his that they've been friends rocking for a long time, probably since high school or middle school. There's other young ladies in the room, dates, wives and girlfriends, all kinds of stuff. And this lady is berating him beyond belief, cussing him out, saying he ain't shit, all that stuff in front of his partners to the point where I'm like, even your partners would be like, yo, she needs to leave because that's my boy, that's my guy. You ain't gonna be talking to him like that in my friend's house, in his best friend's house. And I'm sitting there like, and didn't nobody say nothing. They just looked at her and just kind of, oh, that's crazy. Oh man. I was like, nah, she should have been kicked out the house right then and there. Not only that, the ladies that were there too, they didn't stop her either. So imagine a dude going off on a woman like that, and nobody does anything. You look at his partners like, man, y'all ain't shit either. And when I saw that, I was like, yo, so the ladies are okay watching this lady berate this dude, and you guys ain't pulling her aside like, yo, this is enough. You need to stop all that. And the dudes weren't doing nothing either to be like, yo, that's my guy. You ain't gonna talk to him like that in our house, in his house. Like, no, get out of here. And for him to stay in that, because it wasn't the first time, I've seen it multiple times. I just got to the point where like, I'm in the wrong crowd of people. Why am I here? Then I started looking at myself like, what am I doing? Because this is not how. Huh?
Was there alcohol involved?
Yeah, there was alcohol involved.
You think that it influenced the reason
why? It definitely did. It definitely did. But the thing is, I've been around enough to see it multiple times though, where alcohol was not involved.
Yeah, exactly.
With another dude, and I've seen it multiple times. But I'm like, but it was not just her. It's indicative of things I've seen personally in the Seattle area. I've had to address my mom on some stuff about that, about the culture of being in the me being the only son or male in the family, and my mom raised two kids by herself. I'd be at the hair salon. So around the time I was 12, 13 years old, I confronted my mom. I'm like, look, Mom, I'm tired of hearing you talk about black men like that. And it's not so much she was saying so much bad stuff, but the environment of people that I was being around, the women in those salons and stuff like that, they always had something negative to say. I'm like, but I'm the black kid that you're going to be talking about. I'm the one you're talking about. Like, I'm a black male. What am I supposed to think about myself when you all got, talk about these black dudes like that shit, basically? And I got tired of hearing it.
That's common for the beauty salon or the beauty parlor to be a safe place for black women to, just be honest and transparent about you know, their hurt or anger or whatever feelings they have around the relationships with
Right.
Black men. It's very important, as it is in a barbershop, for you to alter, you know, that banter and that speech if you have, you know what I'm saying, the opposite sex in the room.
They didn't do
And
that with me. I heard all of it.
that's why I think we need to make those adjustments. Like
Right.
I don't want to take away the beauty salon safe place for women, for Black women specifically, to talk about that stuff. Just like I don't want to take away that safe place when Black men get in the barbershop and really just, you know what I'm saying, let our hair down, pun intended. However, we definitely need to modify that. If we're in the barbershop and then Alvena comes in to pick up her son and Cass is still talking about, you know, talking reckless about Black women, I'm like, hold on, man.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, you know, but it's
Well, I mean, or the son is in there. I don't want my son in there with y'all talking reckless about Black women, and y'all shouldn't talk about Black women reckless at all, period. Like, you can talk about what you've experienced and the negativity around certain situations and certain people, but yeah, the bashing on either side is not that's not producing anything positive. It's not good.
And most of the time that I grew up in, it's funny you say that, because the barbershop I went to one of the most ghetto barbershops ever. It was down on 23rd and Jackson, man. This dude was hella elegant. My mom dropped me off by myself, and she's like, okay. And they were like, we got him. Man, this dude was drinking a little bit of orange juice with hella alcohol. I could smell it. I was like, damn. He was cutting my hair, pausing on the phone, and he talked about he snapped these gloves on his hand. I'll never forget this. He snapped these gloves on his hand and was talking about, yeah, I'm about to go handle some business. I don't know exactly what he was talking about because I was 11 or 12. As I got older, I was like, oh my goodness, man, this guy's wild. I understood it now. But I was a little kid, him doing that, and the whole barbershop was like that. It was just like, man, y'all are ridiculous. I'm like, at that time, 9. It was crazy. But then on the equivalent side, I used to hear some of the crazy innuendo stuff happening in the women's stuff. It'd be ridiculous. Like I'm at that time I was 7, 8 hearing that stuff, and I'm like, it was no filter at all. I mean, on both sides, I was just like, it was. They didn't care if kids were there or not. It didn't matter.
Yeah,
it didn't matter.
I mean, at the same time, I mean, I would argue and push back that you do need safe places to what we call vent.
Yeah,
you know, and if you're not able to vent and be transparent, then you're going to keep that bottled in, and all that energy is, if it's not expressed, it's going to be repressed, and it's probably going to come out in a different way. But even when you are venting, there has to be rules to venting. So I'm all with that. I want to get back to the whole notion is we learn how to value ourselves as Black men based on how other people treat us. And I think that we hear a lot growing up, you know what? Black men specifically, y'all ain't got no feelings. I remember the woman I was married to at the time, I remember she saying, you know, I grew up just thinking, you know, my father, she had a bio father and a stepfather. Y'all don't got feelings. And it's like, you know, but men, we do ourselves a disservice and we devalue ourselves by leaning into that, by accepting that pseudoscience as fact. And we start to justify certain things that are done to us because we're just simple animals. So, we don't really have feelings, you know. So when homeboy gets cussed out at the at the house party, man, take that, man. Don't be weak. Don't be no sucker. Don't be acting like no female. Don't be acting gay. You know what I'm saying? You know, you ain't got no feelings. And I figured out something. It's when you start changing your demands in a relationship, that's when you start to be everything a person wants and doesn't want in a relationship. It's like when you start saying, nah, man, you're not going to be, you can't just do that. You know what I'm saying? You know, and it's just like, I've known that, like, for instance, like, Black women love a man that's a hard worker, has a strong work ethic. That's a wonderful thing. That's everything that she wants. But everything that she doesn't want on the flip end is that it's like, but you ain't got no time for me. But I thought you wanted me to work hard and have a strong work ethic. That's why I'm working so much to do this, to provide and to do. So something has to give here. You know what I'm saying? And it's not something like I just have to figure it out. No, we figure it out together. That's what complementary duality is.
Right.
Or I've been in situations during the dating, it's like a woman is really quick to tell you what they need. First and foremost, for a lot of relationship, they need exclusive sex and they need commitment. Okay, I'm fine with that. That's fine. But for you to have exclusive sex and commitment, that means you're going to have to be available. That means that my needs are during this many times in a week, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to need that exclusive sex. I'm going to need that commitment. We're going to have to go on trips. Well, I ain't got time for all that, because, how my parenting is set up and how my work. Okay, well, then as soon as I start having demands and start valuing my time and who I am as a person, then all of a sudden, why are you so difficult?
Right.
But like a man with values, all of a sudden becomes highly difficult to a woman or any person. I mean, I speak from hetero, normatives because I'm straight, but it becomes all of a sudden becomes incredibly difficult to have a relationship specifically with a Black man with values.
I've had that conversation with other ladies and dudes. We talked about it, but I think what I get at is like, how many people have an example? Like I didn't grow up with a dad, so I grew up with coaches and teachers here and there. But who really has an example on a consistent basis of having a dad or having a male role model, being a woman or a male, and seeing a strong Black male and having that dynamics with their mother and the father or whoever, the stepfather, whoever. I don't know if a lot of people see that. I've talked to other people and they said, yeah, my mom was the more dominant one and the guy kind of just got along. And, I've seen that a lot. I've heard about it a lot. I didn't see it, but I think it's all just, that dynamic that they saw. And then when they go into dating, you're gonna mimic what you saw. You're gonna mimic. If you didn't have it, then you're gonna piece it together somehow through. I didn't grow up with a mom and dad in the household per se. So I'm like, where did I get my idea of dating? Just an accident, watching this, watching that, figuring it out. But I never got to see that dynamic, So I mean, Alvena grew up with that. I didn't grow up with that. So I don't know what it looks like,
I was blessed to have a bio dad who was, estranged for, just, circumstantial, I can go get into that on a different episode, but I was definitely blessed to have a stepfather who is the father of one of my brothers, my oldest little brother. And he was really good at, creating a safe place, you know what I'm saying? For me to, and the family, but me specifically as a young Black man to express myself. Like, it wasn't just like I got in trouble and then that was it. That's very common in a lot of Black households. But there was some post punishment, that happened. I remember they would lock their door to keep me out of their stuff. I used to get in there and, get into their little secret stashes of, not gonna put my parents on blast, but I used to go and, go in their little secret stashes stuff they had.
Right.
One time they found out that I was breaking into their room. I was using my ASB card and I was jimmying the lock and I was just walking in there. Like, you can't get in there. So my stepdad, he approached me in front of my mom and was like, "How you getting in there?" I'm like, "Man, I'm in a lock, bro. And what are you gonna do about it?" And he was like, "What?" And he just, just stole off, knocked me in my chest, like boom, like, and I was just like, it didn't even hurt. It was just the fact that he used that type of, response. Like, I felt a grown ass man. And I remember my mom was, upset, like, "Man, why you hit him like that?" And it's like, "Nah, he needs to learn."
Yeah.
But the point is, there was a post conversation that happened and was like, "Hey, I did that to let you know that you can't just be blowing off your elders like that. Like, that needs to stop. You got to understand, it's like there comes a certain point that people who are older and stronger than you, that if you're not respecting those boundaries that exist between young people and elders, that they will do things that you're not going to like. And I apologize for doing that to you, son, but you got to understand, like, that's not cool what you're doing. Like, you're breaking and entering, you're stealing. That's not cool. You know what I'm saying? So to avoid that reactionary response, then stop breaking into our room and stop being like, yeah, what you gonna do about it? Because that's what I'm gonna do about it. Didn't happen again. You know what I'm saying? But that's something I take into my actual relationships, whether it's romantic, professional, whatever. Yeah, man, there's many different stages. We ain't just gonna have a fight in a relationship. There's actually gonna be a formal post discussion to make sure we good, because that's how I was raised. You don't get to make up, through sex. You don't just get makeup by buying me something, us going out to, no, it has to be formal. Like, my bad, I could have done better. And I think that's what ruins a lot of relationships, is because they don't value the actual relationship, because they don't value themselves first, but they don't value the relationship, that the relationship, is as important, that we need to discuss when we have conflict and how we resolve it. And that was something, when you talk about, not a lot of people having, a Black man or a father in their lives to teach them that, I understand, that is a position, I'm saying, a privilege and a blessing that I had that. And, I teach my children that too. We have to resolve this the correct way,
I hated those conversations. I did not like those talks, and my daddy was a pastor too. I would be in tears. I just prefer just whip me. That doesn't hurt as bad.
Yeah. It taught you a lot, and it made you highly competitive, if not one of the elite, what I'm saying, in the professional, arena, when you're able to talk things out.
Yeah.
Not hold grudges. It's called maturity.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because we bring a lot of trauma and immaturity by default into a lot of relationships. Yeah. And a lot of the immaturity comes from the fact that we don't value ourselves because we've never, ever addressed and resolved our trauma.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So for a lot of Black men, I feel like 90% of our low self-esteem and us not valuing ourselves is because we scared of what our partner is going to do to us if we be our authentic selves. And if we truly start valuing ourselves, I used to be terrified in my marriage, bro. Terrified. And I lost a part of myself. I don't know if you've ever been married before, Edward.
No, I've been engaged, but even during that process, I remember there's certain things I was like, man, what was I doing? Like, I went through some stuff like that. Come on, man. I should have addressed that a long time ago, actually, because there's certain things that didn't go away that I already knew at the very beginning, certain things. And it wasn't because the person was bad. It was just because there's certain boundaries that were being crossed constantly with like family and friends that needed to be addressed a long time ago. I would never go through that stuff again. Now I'm like, nah, hell no. Nah, it's not even. Nope.
Another thing I started to realize is when you start valuing yourself, you start not to settle.
Right.
And it makes it incredibly harder for you to be committed to someone, because you don't want to be committed to no BS. And you don't want to be to something that isn't good for you. And then you get called a commitment phobe. Like, I'm 46 years old and my goal still is to at some point be married again. But I'm not going to settle. I'm not a commitment phobe. It's just I'm not just going to commit to what you have to offer, because I value myself too much.
I'm with you, man. I've been through my own situations. I've watched other people's situations. Talked to my dad. I didn't grow up with my dad, so I reconcile with my dad. I talk to him all the time now. So
that's dope.
Yeah. So for me, that's one of those things. I also said, like, I would never hold a grudge against people, because if I was going to, that Negro would be the one I would do it with. But I let that go a while ago, and I don't have any, like, not even an ounce of anything. When I thought I was done with everything with dealing with him, I still had a little residual, and I had to tell him, like, man, I've always wanted to knock you out. I've always wanted to knock you out, brother. And when I told him that, and I said, you know what, but I forgive you. I was at Landmark in the parking lot. We had to do a little exercise. I told him that. I broke down, started crying. I didn't know I had anything really to say to him. I didn't say, I'm gonna call you, man. Just gonna tell you this. And then that came out, and then he started bawling, and I was like, but once I was done with that, I was completely done. I was like, that was like about 5 years ago now. Christmas time, I used to always have this issue with me all the time, no matter what, all the holidays, where I would just have this weird depression thing and anger at the same time. And I'd just be treating everybody like crap. I'd be like, there's so many Christmases, I'd be like, F all y'all, I'm out. And I go in my car and almost get stranded in the snow because I'm so pissed off. And I just like tell people to, y'all can just leave without me. And they'd leave without me. And I'll be sitting on Thanksgiving in my in my room watching some TV by myself, just thinking, why did I do that? Because I always had some type of weirdness about, not feeling like I was loved, didn't have that kind of that homey lifestyle, the whole, I don't know, the whole TV dad type of situation. I didn't have it. So it always kind of upset me. But now I was like, life is life. I get it. I don't have no residual effects of that. But because of it, I can deal with situations differently. Like I can, I don't let bad energy in. I'm not trying to avoid conflict, but I'm definitely not looking for it either. I'm not just trying to invite it. So I know, I know a lot of people that need it. They need it because that's what they're used to.
Yeah, there's value in conflict. And I think that some people don't even put a value on it. They just like to be in conflict because it's normal to them. Something ain't right. For some people, when they're in relationships, something is not right if there's no conflict. That's scary. Like if there's conflict, if I'm pushing the conflict, then I'm trying to get value out of it. But you know what? When you mention it, I want to get to Alvena and then, see what she thinks about what we've been talking about. And then I want to go to the plan of action and close out for tonight. Because it can be a part 2, 3, 4, and a 5. But when you talked about the holiday season and how you feel that hurt and that anger, you know what I'm saying? And you don't feel valued. I think, number one, I think that a lot of people make the assumption that the holidays is good for everybody. And we need to stop doing that.
No, not at all, man.
Holidays. Instead, we need to say, do you need anything during the holiday? And we make the assumption that the holiday season is a really good season, but it's not. Like for me, the holiday season ain't all that popping for me, man. It ain't, because the weather changes. And I grew up 12 years. I was married in a family. The holiday season when the family came together and we did Kwanzaa, I was one of the co-leaders. I brought Kwanzaa into our family. We played the drums. We like the Kanara. We don't do that anymore. They're hanging out with their mom. You know what I'm saying? They're hanging out with their mom's family. You know what I'm saying? Because they know I'm not really up on the European holidays, but I'm also not really cool with my in-laws like that because there's a lot of pain and there's some triggers with that side of the family. I didn't feel like I was, treated well in that. But to hear you say that and how you withdraw during the holiday season, it goes into we learn to value ourselves based on how other people treat us. And that's facts, man. We start to think that we actually deserve the poor treatment we get because we normalize how people treat us. And a lot of times, too many times as Black men, we're treated poorly. But we lean into it because it's a badge of honor. Yeah, I survived that. And Black women do the same thing. But we run away from Black women's narratives and how much they are aligned. And there's a lot of intersection with that because, oh man, that's some gay stuff. That's some woman stuff. That's some female stuff, Stop acting all emotional. But just like Black men are expected to be strong, that's the reason why there's a medical apartheid specifically for Black women that's specifically tied into their reproductive organs because they're expected to be strong. Ain't nothing wrong with you. Take your ass home.
Oh,
We don't need do no extra exams. We don't need run no extra tests. And you know how much Black men feel. We don't even want to go to the hospital.
Right.
Because we have started to value ourselves, even how the medical industry and the medical franchise value ourselves. You're strong enough. Deal with it.
I was doing that for a year. Alvena knows I had a back and neck issue. And I was like, I'm good. I'm good. And I couldn't even walk sometimes. Like, oh my goodness, I can't even walk. I can't get out of bed right now. And I'll be like, no, I'm good. I'll brush it off. I just stretch out a little bit. And then I started going to the doctor, and then they did the test and started seeing, dude, you got a bulging disc situation going on in the back part. Like, that's no joke. And I was like, oh, that's what it is. And they're like, yeah, we're surprised you were doing what? You've been like, how you walking around doing what you're doing? When I busted my Achilles,
ouch.
I was it was like 6 or 7 years ago. The surgery was going to be 2 weeks later. I was at my job the next day with my leg up on the desk, still just working, throbbing, throbbing, and I'm like, I'm good. I just got away from my surgery, and the people around me were like, dude, like really, you just busted your Achilles, like that's one of the worst injuries you could have, and then like, but I was just like, because I'm used to this, like whatever, I got, I'll figure it out,
That's another perfect example of a black man not valuing himself, not
Yeah,
valuing himself,
I should have rested and been,
neglect of his health. We do it all the time.
Yep.
What you think about hearing us talk as a fly girl on the wall? No disrespect by calling you a girl, but the references to In Living Color, the fly girls. But what you think?
Well, I mean, I'm mostly just listening, but the one thing that did come to mind was about conflict and how to deal with that in a relationship, and to talk things out when you don't like something, and set boundaries and all of that type of situation, and how many of us just did not get that skill. And it is a skill. It's something that you have to learn to do in order to be able to take feedback, provide feedback, say, I heard you say this, that, and the other, like, apologize, be humble. I mean, I think a number of people get really angry when someone says that they did something wrong, or take it really personal to the point of like, maybe I'm worthless, we don't need to be together, let's damn it all to hell type situation. But like, no, like I just didn't like something and we need to talk about it. So how to have those conversations, if you didn't really have an example of how to do that, or I don't know, like just, like I'm not sure what leads people to not be able to take feedback, but I mean, I definitely do, but I'm gonna go ahead.
You know what leads a lot of people not to take feedback is very rarely, I'm gonna say something controversial right here. Very rarely are the two people in a relationship, and I'm going monogamous. I know there's other relationships out there, but keep it simple. I know there's poly. I know there's a whole bunch of there's a wide spectrum of different ways to do a relationship. So
A, B, C, D, E,
exactly,
F, G, whatever.
Emphasis on the D. But listen,
Wait,
anyway.
what?
Never mind.
I'm like, wait, what?
Very rarely in relationship are those two people in that relationship facilitating that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Usually what's facilitating that relationship is a religion, their professional lives and the schedule that comes with it, their family, their friends. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Very rarely are those two people the bosses and co-leaders of that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And man, you hit it right on the head.
People don't get the honest feedback because they're throwing it through a Christianity filter, an Islamic or some kind of religious, filter. Well, what does Islam say? What does Christianity say? What does the Nation of Gods and Earth say? You know what I'm saying? What does the friends and family say? But what does the work say? It's like, you know what I mean? Very rarely are those two people saying, we are the sole controllers of our relationship. Very rarely. There's too much influences, and people don't know how to value themselves, where they turn off those outside influences and they begin to value themselves based on those outside influences. Well, I was looking at my homeboy and how they get down, and you know what I'm saying, we're not even doing half the things they doing. You know what I'm saying? They got a house, they got a Range Rover and shit like that. Look. That's not you. Why are you valuing yourself based on someone else's relationship? Well, you know what Christianity says. Christianity says that you shouldn't be looking at porn and da-da-da-da. Okay, but why is he looking at porn? Why is she looking at porn? You're not even running your own relationship to understand how you value each other, because you allowing these outside influences dictate how you value each other. So, I mean, I just remember being an enlightener and teacher to like a younger brother. You know what I'm saying? I was married before him. And we study certain teachings in our spiritual circle, that I can talk about it at a different time. And he was about to get married. And I says, to him because he was studying, you know what I'm saying, these teachings, you know what I'm saying, and I was his teacher, I was his enlightener. I said, look, man, do not take these lessons and these teachings, and because you've mastered those, do not allow these teachings to be your marriage counselor. Don't think because you have mastered these lessons, you have rehearsed them, you recited them, and you're more literate in these lessons that you're better than her in a relationship, that you're better than her in a marriage. You know how many times men and women do that to cover up their insecurities? You know what I'm saying? They go to some other philosophy that they're really good at, whether it be their profession, whether it be their religion. But I did something wrong, but I'm more literate, you know what I'm saying, in this Bible, in this Quran, or you know what I'm saying, I'm more literate when it comes to making more money. So therefore it excuses and justifies certain things I do in a relationship.
Ooh.
You can't tell me what to do because I make more money than you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And trust it or not, a lot of men, specifically Black men, don't even understand that's the tip of a huge iceberg of how we devalue ourselves. Because we start to equate that we are valuable because we can accumulate things and make more money than our partner. And that is so untrue.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I talked to Alvena about this. Like, I probably don't fit the mold for a lot of stuff. Like, I just did a thing with Debrina. We're doing to do some business stuff. I don't throw my resume out there and what I know, this and that kind of stuff. People are amazed sometimes when they find out. But because I drive a box truck. Yeah, I'll drive my box truck to an event, no problem. Because I can throw a suit on just like that, and I can hang out with anybody in the world and talk to the CEO. I can talk to any doctor. It don't matter. I know the information. I don't have to be the doctor to understand what they're talking about, but I can have that relationship and talk because I read and I'm really smart about a lot of stuff, and I know a lot of people, so I get a lot of information from others. But I could be in my DIY looking crazy, but guess what? When I go somewhere, that other politician person that you hold at a high esteem, we'll talk all day and be 2-3 hours in the parking lot talking. It happens to me all the time. I talk to some major CEOs, and I don't talk about it all the time. I talk to the homeless people. Alvena, and I'll talk to a homeless person probably longer than I'll talk to the CEO type. You know, I used to kind of showcase that a little bit because it's like my value is not based on what you see and what I'm wearing today. It's not based on the truck that I drove in that I have to put a screwdriver in and start it until I get the other things fixed. But you know what though? I know how to fix the whole car though. I can fix this whole engine. I've actually did that. So all this construction stuff because I didn't want to hire somebody to do it because one day I want to do land development. So while you see me looking all bummy and stuff, yeah, I'm about to be doing houses in 4 or 5 years from now. I'm not paying everybody else to do the work because I want to learn the skill set. And I go to Home Depot and talk to that old timer guy that you think ain't worth anything. He's one of my favorite friends because he's always giving me insight on life. And yeah, he's 20 years older than me, but the information he gives me is allowing me to like glean into something that is going to help me in my longevity, but being a man, type of situation. The way I look sometimes, I can't be in a suit when I'm downtown all the time to go talk to the homeless people when I'm just walking down the street because of what I'm looking like. I'm a little, they're going to be a little put off because I'm look like I'm trying to be too high and mighty.
You got to get on your Jesus walks, come as you are. You know what I'm saying? You got to come as the people. You feel me?
But so it gives me access that way.
I know I'm not the only one you never have come across as long as I've known you as a person who doesn't value yourself. I always look at you as he's a Renaissance man. He's very valuable in many different, lanes. He good with his hands. He's handsome brother. He can wear a suit.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? And he got the camera work going. I hired you to do my one person show. So you definitely come across as a person who values himself, and it seems like it's coming from you put the work in. So that being said, let's pivot and transition into what is the plan of action? Like, how do Black men start to and men in general start to value themselves? Like, what's a good start? How do you develop that training and that characteristic and that practice of valuing yourself? What do you think?
I'm gonna go back to sports. A lot of us black dudes, sports has been a thing. Sometimes too much, actually. Because I was also a nerdy type kid too, chess and all kind of stuff. But for me, it was like I knew I wasn't that good. I could shoot a little bit, but I started basketball really late. Um, in order for me to get better, I had to be honest with myself and put an action plan together. I want to make varsity at least. I want to be on a team. I want to be able to be a contributor. I don't want to be sitting the bench. All right. So what does that mean? I got to be real with my personal point of view. Like, where am I at with my skill set? Where am I at my thought process? What's my action plan to get to that level? Let me study the people that are way better or higher level than me that are doing things in a way that I want to emulate and get to that level.
That's
Now,
a good.
I'm talking about sports, but it could be me and Alvina talking about business folks. We talk about the podcasts we listen to, the folks that we see at an upper echelon, and I want to do and emulate what they're doing. They're not perfect people, but I need to put a plan in place to at least even compete on that level. So I need to be honest with myself and then become disciplined. As a dude, to answer your question, the action plan is I would first, as a dude, anybody in the world, what's your spiritual and your body like? Like, are you, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you're naked, do you like what you see?
Mm-hmm.
If you can honestly be honest about yourself in that situation, be like, yo, no, I don't. I need to lose about, I'll talk about myself. I need to lose about 20, 25 pounds to get to where I need to be all chiseled. I'll tell you, Alvina, I want a model. I can't.
You loud over there, Alvina. You loud.
Oh,
Is that
my
her?
bad.
I was like, what? She got chips? Are you eating chips?
I'm gonna mute my.
Yeah, the brother trying to, talk about him, what I'm saying, losing 20 pounds. You over there being all loud, man. God, understand if
uh,
you value this brother or not. No.
let me speak. Let me speak, Alvina. Let me speak.
But go ahead, though. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, so it's like, I'll just use myself as an example. In order for me to value myself to the highest level, I gotta look myself in the mirror and be comfortable with myself. Not what logic is doing, not what this person's doing, not what this woman wants out of me. No, it's not about that. I said, okay, where do you want to go in life? I got some examples of people that I want to emulate in acting world. Well, what do they look like and how do they act and what kind of roles do they play? Okay, this is what they do. Well, are you mimicking that or not? Nah, dude, I'm not. My cupcake fetish needs to stop. I need to limit that a little bit more and be more disciplined and get down 20 pounds. I gotta up my sleep habits. I gotta hang around the better people when I'm doing stuff with you guys. I'm not. I got invited to stuff tonight to go hang out at a bar type of situation. That's not really what I want to do. That's not going to lead me down the path of getting millions and millions of dollars and having influence and having better control of my own situation. Doing stuff with you guys and Debrina and other folks that are building stuff, I can still have fun in those things, but I'm at a different level with people that also want to grow at a higher level. So if I value myself, I have action plan to be more disciplined and then also put myself in better positions around better people or better conditions for myself to have that opportunity to grow. If I don't love myself, guess what I'm gonna be doing? I'm gonna be hanging at the bar late at night, drinking all the time. Nothing wrong with that on the moderation thing, but if that's my consistent thing where I'm putting all my time at, and then on top of that, the people I'm in relation with, am I hanging out with that dude that's just kind of just not really disciplined? I'm trying to chase after the big booty girl with the pretty face that she ain't got nothing else going on, and I'm just liking her for that reason. I'm not valuing myself on that level too, and it's just a constant cycle. So if I value myself, I'm gonna start with my own self discipline and really pay attention to my thoughts and who I hang around. And that's pretty simple, but it's very hard because we get so distracted with so many things, the social media stuff, this and that, the friends you're
Mhm.
around, the family. I tell people in my space, I had this conversation with my mom. She lives upstairs. I created a space for her. Look, mom, this is my space, and this is the energy level that I want in this space. Plain and simple. I don't care who it is. My mom, pastor, I don't care who it is. You're not gonna be able to disrupt my energy because I have these goals in life, and I'm not gonna let anybody do anything about me not getting there. I don't care who it is. And so I've created a little barrier around myself, and the people that I let in, they have good energy. Alvina has good energy. I wouldn't be working with her at all. Please, nope. Debrina has good energy. She's building stuff. She's been doing stuff for the community. You got good energy. I'm not dealing with people that got low energy because I love myself too much to allow that. So I
Yes.
said a lot, but it's just
I
it's just
heard. I heard.
discipline.
I heard two action items. First and foremost, do for self before you do for someone else.
Mhm.
And instead of you increasing the revenue for some bar or tavern, which you said is nothing wrong with that. Do it for yourself first on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Take more opportunities to, develop and plant the seeds for your revenue building instead of buying a drink, you know what I'm saying, that's probably overpriced, you know what I'm saying, just so you can be in that social setting. So do it for yourself first. And what I also heard you say is be around people that are, are like-minded in doing what you want to do in your life, that have similar goals. You know what I'm saying? So that was dope. That was dope.
Yep.
My plan of action will be this, man, and to value yourself is to embrace your fears. And there is nothing about yourself that you don't appreciate. That's very hard to do. So when someone asks you the question, what is it that you don't like about yourself? The first way for you to value yourself and plant that seed is to take that as a trick question. There's nothing that I don't like about myself. I appreciate everything about me, even my fears, my insecurities, and everything. And I am in the constant journey and process of turning my fears and my insecurities into fuel for me to be better.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't do that. They put a bad name on insecurities and fears. Fears and insecurities are exactly what they are. Fears and insecurity. They're not good or bad. They are just that. Fears and insecurities. And a lot of time your insecurities stop you from doing really dumb stuff that's going to set you back 10, 15 steps. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, your fears, you know what I'm saying? If you abandon those, it can get you hit by a car because that means you're not looking both ways because you no longer fear being hit by a car. And so you have to embrace your fears and your insecurities and appreciate the reason why they're there. Everything is there for a reason. And so love who you are and share that with other people. And don't be afraid to share your vulnerabilities and your fears with, boundaries and insecurities with other people, and let people know that, no, I'm not doing that. Why? Because that's something I'm working on in my relationship with my insecurity and fears, and you're triggering that. So therefore, you're not helping me with that. Therefore, I'm not going forward with that. And accept it when they say, you know what? You're a jerk. You're an asshole. Okay. And appreciate that commentary. Appreciate that. Because a lot of times people are going to call you a jerk and an asshole because you've overcome your fears and your insecurities, and now you've triggered theirs.
Man, you just hit on something I posted today, like right before a couple hours ago. I've had people in my circle, people I grew up with. You know how people say little snide remarks? They try to say, oh, this Ed, oh, you be trying to do everything. You're not saying it like what you just said about me. Oh, he's a Renaissance dude. That's totally different. That sounds totally different than somebody saying, yeah, this guy's all over the place. Like, no, I'm not really. I actually do what I say I'm going to do. Alvena talked about it. Like, she takes so many notes. It's ridiculous. Like, well, I mean, it's her profession too. But there's stuff that she'll say, or there's stuff that I've said a year and a half ago, and she'll be like, oh, yeah, I remember you talking about this. And when we look about what we're doing, Caffeine and Cupcakes, for example, we are doing those things. Everything doesn't line up to all the timelines, but we're doing, hopefully I'm doing what I said I was going to do back then, and we're still moving towards that with what we're doing. But even on myself, I take notes I have a notebook that I've had for 5 years now, and I look back at it, my little sketches. I'm like, oh, I'm doing all the things that I planned out back then. I didn't pay attention to how I'm doing it all the time. But when I go back and look at it, I looked at all my Facebook posts last night. I went through every last one of my Facebook posts to pull out all my videos I've ever done. I got a movie idea. I'll have to talk to you about that too. I told Alvena already about it. Like this one, my first Facebook post in 2013. It's the craziest post because so many things in that situation happened, and lives have changed and all kind of stuff. And I know all the situations. It's just crazy to see that. But when I did that, I start seeing I've been consistent this whole time about what I've been talking about. If you go back in my earlier posts, there's no wonder that I'm in the acting stuff. There's no wonder I'm doing a podcast, and no wonder I'm working with Alvena. There's no wonder that I got a construction company. I can see it. Oh yeah, I was moving that direction the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of always wanted to do that since I was a kid, but I never really took the fear of doing and trying to do something different. So now I'm at 47 years old, and I lost my fear of death when I was about 35, 36, or somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
It's gotten to the point now. What I'm looking like, I told you, what else can I start? Because I'm not really scared about anything. I'm like, oh man, everything's available to me because I do have reservations, but I don't have like this fear of death situation, and I don't feel like me trying something is so bad if it don't work out. It's okay.
Yeah. The
It's
fear
okay.
of death can definitely reduce, you know what I'm saying, the quality of love you have for life, for sure. So you got to set boundaries and with that relationship with fear. But I would just say, you know, that's my plan of action, is to embrace your fears, embrace your insecurities, and improve on the relationship you have with those things, so you can really appreciate it. So Alvena gets the last word. Hearing these two black men talk about themselves, and I didn't really talk about your profession. He mentioned it and stuff, and I'm not going to mention it. I'll let you, mention it organically. But I think that's why you're actually really ideal for this fly girl on the wall, you know what I'm saying, type conversation that we had. But what's your takeaway from hearing these two black men talking about how they can value themselves more and how they can plant those seeds and work and make it an ongoing process and journey?
Well, I mean, I just like the thing you said about embracing if somebody calls you a hole or a jerk, because a lot of times, like you said, folks, they don't like that you said no. My it looks like my camera's shaky. They don't like that you said no, or that you set a boundary with them, and now they got to call you out your name, when the reality is that they just haven't come to that point where they're willing to value themselves and set some boundaries. So can't just take that as, I mean, sometimes people do need to be like, oh yeah, I need to do better at how I'm showing up as well. That's the other way to take that as well, and take that to therapy or to their men's group, to the barbershop, wherever it is that people are trying to be healthier, with your pastor, your mentor, somebody that you look up to that may be doing it better. Be willing to just take a deep look at yourself, and where it is that you want to be, or who it is that you see yourself being, and do what you need to do to get there. That's the action plan. But I'm still just a fly on the wall here.
Awesome. Fly girl on the wall.
Oh yeah, fly girl on the wall. I'll take that.
We got to do a part 2, part 3, and all that. This is great. I would love to have a series. I want to also let you know I will be inviting you, because she said a men's group. We do have I call it a sun session on Zoom every Sunday. I have a men's group. I'll send you the link next time and whatnot, because we like to have these conversations on a regular basis to get our week started. So we get our Monday started on Sunday. So I'll send you the invite. I'll send you the link for this Sunday and whatnot. All right, we out. Love y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you share this video. Make sure you comment. We out. Seed Talk, and also cupcakes and caffeine and cupcakes. All right.